and welcome all to the CAA show. My name is Juggi Bhasin. CAA, of course, is conversation and analysis. So to rephrase Charles Dickens, it was and still is the worst of times and sometimes the best of times. Yes, I'm talking of the current pandemic and how we are all coping with it. We are still in the eye of the storm and not yet out of it. And so today, I thought it would be a good idea if instead of the usual political slugfest and the analysis of it, we could get a perspective of how people, especially couples, are faring in the pandemic. Why couples, you might ask? Quite simply, this space addresses concerns and aspirations of people like us, or PLUs in short. It has not been easy for young, middle-aged and old couples during this time. So, to get a first-hand perspective and hear stories of how so many of us are surviving and coping the pandemic, it is my pleasure to have on my show Vishal Sinha and Juhee Sinha. Vishal is CEO of JWT and has been in the travel business for the last 25 years. Juhee is an executive coach focusing on corporates, entrepreneurs, and students. Hi, Vishal, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Juggi.
Great to have you, both of you, and welcome Juhee to the show. Welcome to have both of you on the show. So, Vishal, the worst of times and the best of times, what has it been for you?
Well, a mix of both, Juggi. I think, if you look at it, I work for a company called CWT, which is majorly into travel trade, right? And we were probably the worst impacted from the pandemic. One of the things which I used to do when I used to work was pretty much be on a flight every week, right? Now, I still remember my last flight last year was on the 15th of March, 2020, right? For someone who has been in the business for 25 years and being on a flight every week, and then suddenly being at home, right? And having so many meals with my wife, right? I don't think I have done that even when we were dating or we got married. Right? So when I talk about the good things, I've probably reached an anniversary date, probably one of the landmarks. I think this last 1 year feels like being married to Juhee for 20 years. So I probably added another 20 years to our 22 years of being married. But I think, it's been difficult in terms of, from an office point of view, making sure that you have people engaged, right? Because it was all through a virtual environment. So it was a bit of an issue. From a personal point of view, Juggi, I think it was probably one of the best times you would have ever had to be able to stay connected with your family and kids, right? I think we did spend a lot of time with the family, and probably the bonding became a bit stronger. So my son is all ready to go to university this year. The very fact that for the last 18 months, we have had all meals together, we have been together, right? Also gave us a time to be able to, gave us an opportunity to be able to spend some time with him, which we would have probably never done before, right? We would have never got a chance. Now, he's going to college. Once he goes over there, it's pretty much done, right? I don't know when will we see him. We'll see him for vacations or when he wants to come and visit us, right? But I think this 18 months was absolutely brilliant. Though, if I look at it from his perspective, he probably lost the best years of his life being at home with us rather than being in the school.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. So well, it's a mix, because we are also in the same situation. Our son is also in the US right now, and now this week he's moving to Miami. He's going to begin work there. And it's been almost 2 years since we have seen him, and the travel ban is there. In fact, I was going to request you, use your good offices, Vishal, get this travel ban lifted, do whatever it takes to get the travel ban lifted. So, Juhee, let me come to you. Tell us about, obviously, the same question to you, your aspiration, what has been for you a good time or a bad time, but you also have the additional responsibility. You're a working mother. Okay, that brings a fresh kind of responsibility, sometimes probably even a burden also. So it would be twice X, I would say, in your case. So share with us your experiences during this time.
Absolutely. So Juggi, what happened when we got into this whole pandemic, right? Last March, there was fear of unknown, which we were all going through. and we didn't know what to do. And it was like, we thought, okay, it will be 1 month, we'll be all at home. We started, either when we are in the fear mode, we either flight or fight. We couldn't fight, we couldn't flight because the whole world was under this pandemic. So what we did, okay, the best thing is to be at home, and we were forced to be at home. So first month was like binge watching Netflix, having meals together, trying to, think what to do. But that fear went up to stress after a month or so. Like, okay, what next? This doesn't seem to end soon. It is going to go on for some time. So what's next? Then we started like, okay, now it is enough. We all need space in our life. We have never spent so much time together, like 24/7 for a month and a half was like, okay, that's it. So now we need to think what's next. So looking at my work, of course, we started, okay, we need space. So Vishal went down to the basement. He created his own office there. I took the top floor. I created my office. Kids were busy on the middle floor. But being at home, even if I had to get used to Zoom call, we were not used to working from home. Getting used to working from home was a big challenge for all of us, especially kids. Like schooling from home was a big challenge for them. So of course, making sure that they are there on their online classes. If I'm on Zoom call, they are not barging in the room and say, Mama, I need this. Mom, where are you? I need food, I need this. So, those sort of distraction was there. So how do we control? So that's where we had to figure it out. We all needed space. We all created space for ourselves. We would meet for different meals. We would meet in the evening and spend some quality time together. And of course, then both of us, we had a little bit of competition. Okay, we have our space, but we have explored different corner in our house. And how do we beautify that corner? And that's where we created a good garden in our house. So we got into all these, how do we engage our mind in a positive way? Right. Because it was getting on to all of us. Sure. We were not used to being at home. We were not used to, being under this restriction. So right. It was mentally impacting all of us. So we needed to engage our mind more towards positive side.
Juhee, you set the ball rolling. You kind of marshaled the resources in the house, all the people in the house. You said that these are your corners or my corner. Who took the lead in, taking charge of the house?
As you can see, this is coming.
Vishal is very clear.
It was always dictated, right? So for a time being, we thought there was no democracy in this house. It was dictatorship, right? It was all being told. You go to
like a dictatorship.
Absolutely. We were all told, you get to this corner, and we used to obey, sit down in the corner, and say, "All right, man, there we go."
Yeah, because it was always like it seemed that when you're at work, no one is disturbing you, but when you're at home,
right,
you're taken for granted. Okay, I can come and talk to you, I can just ask you anything. So I think we needed to bring in that discipline.
Okay.
But what I would say that the bonding which we had been married for 23 years, and we have never stayed together for so long, for so many days and months.
Right.
So the bonding among us and bonding with kids, that was something which I would say a big positive thing which happened during this pandemic.
Right.
And this has also prepared us that, okay, we would be getting old soon. And this is how our life would be much easier now, because we got into practice being together and being happy together. So that was something which
it was like a training for you, in a sense, that for obviously for the more glorious future and everything. But let me ask both of you about work. And since Juhee, you have been giving a picture of how you have been managing everything in the house. Let me first start with you, then I'll come to Vishal. You're a coach. You coach executive entrepreneurs, students. In a strange way, a lot of businesses have collapsed, but they say that one business which is thriving is the business of coaching and counseling during this period. Did you feel that was really happening? And did you do your sessions online? Because obviously meeting personally would not have been possible. How was it for you?
So I would say like a lot of business have been impacted because of this pandemic, but touch wood and by God's grace, this business has moved to completely different level because coaching and counseling was never a want. Like it was not like needed. If people would want or if the corporate would sponsor, they would go for it. But right now, people were going through stress, anxiety. That's where they wanted to speak to someone. And that's where they started reaching out to coach. And being on a virtual platform, there was no boundary. Like, it's not that I was just focusing on Gurgaon, Delhi. I have a client across India. So that being on a virtual platform made it much more easier. It was very on one-on-one basis, which people really accepted it. And they wanted to talk to someone. They wanted someone to listen to them. So basically, coach listen and tries to find the solution which lies within the person. So I think that is something which people were going through. There were a lot of stress among corporates, like whether they'll have a job or what do I do. So they didn't know how to handle adversity. So that's something which came up very, very strongly in this was working on your emotional quotient and adversity quotient. So
Absolutely.
Two things really, really worked in my favor, and especially in my business.
Wonderful. So even after hopefully and the pandemic, we just hope will end soon, at least at the end of the year or something, you would still like to continue with this model of online, interaction, online counseling or online, coaching. This would be an interesting model for you, which you would like to continue.
To be very frank with you, I've completely moved on to this because this is something which is the future, it is going to be. There are few people who basically prefer face-to-face. So you have to keep both options open, but the majority percentage would be comfortable with virtual.
So something good has come out of the pandemic for you at least. Okay. So Vishal, let me come to you because I know you've been a very senior person in the travel trade. You have excellent credentials. And it can't be easy when you are saying right and left, the entire travel day collapsing all around you. The tourism business, in a way, the bottom has literally caved out of the tourism business. My question to you is, during this time, how did you keep your people motivated? How did you, get that resources, or how did you motivate them that, guys, that this too shall pass? What was really going on through your mind? Because you are in a sector which probably has been the most impacted by all this. Tell us about how you dealt with this particular crisis on the work front.
It had been difficult, Juggi, because this crisis has been completely unprecedented, right? So it's not as if our business hasn't seen crises. So you talk about SARS, you talk about bird flu, you talk about September 11th, you talk about the tsunami in Japan. But the magnitude of this has been completely unprecedented. This time around, we have never had a situation when there were no flights operating and no one was traveling, right? And not for weeks, as Juhee rightly said, for months together, right? What you saw was probably a couple of weeks became months and months became a year soon, right? But yes, it had been very difficult. And one of the things which we have been focusing on, Juggi, is the fact that, what we believe is the fact that it's not going to be a restart of business, it's a reset, right? We have restarted looking, it's all about reimagining your entire business as to how business travel would look like. How would travel look like, right? So for us, the benefit over here, right, I would probably say what kept us engaged was to be able to get into creative thinking, right? Which we normally don't do. What you normally get stuck with is your normal regular work, right? And this actually gave us an opportunity to rethink as to how business travel would look, right? What are the new things which people would be looking for? What are the must-haves, right? Things which were probably very important previously are not that important now, right? If you just think back about September 11th, right? When September 11th happened, we started having all these checks at the airport, which was supposed to be temporary. It's become something which is absolutely permanent now. You go through those security checks and you don't even complain. Similarly, now you probably have health checks, you'll have health certificates, you'll have vaccination certificates. That becomes part of it. virtual meetings are good, right? They serve a purpose, right? But I personally feel that I've had a virtual meeting fatigue, right? Beyond a point, you need to connect with me. Businesses are all about relationship. They're all about the personal connect. It's all about being able to meet people. So yes, as Julie rightly said, there would be a lot of people where these virtual meetings would work. There would be a lot more of hybrid meetings where you're doing virtual and live meetings, right? But business is bound to come back because businesses grow when you meet people, right? Especially when you talk about travel, right? And if you look at the last few weekends where most of our fellow countrymen have gone completely berserk and have been sort of getting on to all the hill stations,
Yeah.
right? Which is a bit bizarre. So there's a bit in terms of the revival of travel, which is coming back, and that will soon come back. But the levels which we had in 2019 would take a few years before we can actually get back to the 2022 level.
Correct.
Sorry. To answer your question, right?
No, I understand. But let me ask you this question, which is, which comes as a corollary to what you are saying. And you mentioned a little bit about that there would be now very unique challenges which would come when the travel trade opens up, when everything opens up. Let me ask you a funny question. For example, it's not a funny question, it's a very important question. Supposing, let's say I board a flight, and I'm all masked up and everything. And when I'm being served, then I have to take off my mask, I have to eat. And there are people who are sitting in front of me, they are sitting around me, even if I'm in the business class. These kind of challenges, vaccine passports, all this is new. How are you thinking and coping and telling your people to meet these kind of challenges, which are now definitely going to come when everything opens up?
One of the things with Juggi, which a lot of people don't know, is probably it's safest being on the airline, right? In an aircraft, inside an aircraft, because of the HEPA filters which are there, the air gets purified very quickly, right? So it's probably one of the safest places to be in. And I can probably get back and have a look at that. But HEPA filters are the ones which are used in operation theaters and the other, right? So that's how we are making sure that the aircrafts, right, all the airlines are making sure that the aircrafts are absolutely safe from the bits in terms of, the air is purified on a regular basis. So that is not really an issue in terms of being an aircraft. I think the safest place to be is to be in the aircraft. And apart from that, we just have to be sensible, right? Is it really necessary for 500,000 people to be in Shimla, right, on the same weekend, right? You're going over there. There has to be a bit in terms of where you yourself are a bit more cautious in terms of how you manage it. You cannot always be monitored, right? So it's more in terms of just having that bit in terms of saying, I need to wear a mask for my safety and for the others, right? And that is something which is important. So there are basic stuff which we need to follow, right? But travel would soon come back. There are so what would be important now are the safety and safety checks, right? Are we making sure that the hotel rooms are sanitized? Are we making sure that the aircrafts are clean? There are proper distancing at the airports. Are we probably you would do more of villa holidays where you would be staying in a villa rather than going in a hotel and staying with 500 people, right? So things are going to change. The way people travel is going to change, right? One of the things which we have noticed is that road trips have become very popular, right? A lot of people are actually driving off to their destination, which would become popular. But beyond a point, we love traveling, right? We love traveling. We love experiencing different cultures. We love eating food, right? So I think these are the things that people are missing.
So what about, let me quickly ask you about vaccine passports. Do you see a possibility of that? Do you see the body of nations coming together and saying that, listen, this virus is here to stay for maybe a long, long time, but it's time that people who are double vaccinated, people who have a vaccine passport, literally, they can travel, or maybe get even an RT-PCR test when you land up in destinations. Do you see the possibility of that happening soon?
That is definitely going to happen, right? That is the way, that is the safest way which you can actually, what are the checks which you can have in place? This is one of the checks to say you're double vaccinated, your tests are clear, you can come in over here, right? So, the world economy also depends on tourism. There's a big amount of revenue which comes in from there. So you would have to open borders in terms of letting people come in. Right, it's going to take time, right? People need to get, also, the most important thing, Juggi, it's not about opening things, it's also about people being comfortable, right? It's also about us being able to provide all the information to our travelers to make sure that they're confident when it comes to traveling, right?
Yes.
But yes, but to answer your question, even IATA is the IATA is also working on bits in terms of getting a health passport done, and for the countries to follow that. So I think that should be something which will definitely be done.
Definitely happen. Juhee, let me ask you a very sensitive question, and we have touched a little bit about this. But the fact is, if we cut out the laughter and the jokes, but the fact is, this has been a very strange time for couples. As I said, you guys have done wonderfully well, and I know so many couples have done well. But there are also couples who have become estranged, who have drifted apart. They couldn't take the pressure. Um, when it all started, when all this developed around you, did these thoughts cross your mind that how am I going to cope with it? And now I have to take the charge, because at the end of the day, I don't know who's the driving force in the house. But did that challenge come as a challenge to you that, there is so much I have to do to get everything in place so that nothing goes out of control and our relationship stays happy and good as you would like it? Did you feel that challenge?
Of course, it was there initially when it all started. As I said, that it was new to all of us. So it was a big challenge initially because we are not used to. Any relationship you need space. You're not used to just being under one roof 24/7, right? And everyone was going through stress. Where do they take out their stress? On each other, right? So that's something which was very common in every family, where normally you speak to your colleague, you speak to your friends, and you take out your stress. But here, just us, four of us in the house. So where would you take out stress? On each other? And that would have created a lot of the stress and the anxiety in the house. So we saw a little bit of coming in, and that's where that's the point where we had to decide, okay, now, this is not going to end soon. This is going to go on for some time, and we need to take certain steps. And of course, Vishal got into cooking because we had only one help at home. And, that's been a big challenge again in every household. Less help, and especially at the beginning where part-timers were not allowed. So with one help, the kids got into kitchen. I of course, I'd never explored. Vishal would talk about it, that I'd never fond of cooking. So he would just say, okay, you know what, kids are going to go to university and they will say, "Maa ke haath ka to khaya nahi, chalo baap ke haath ka khate hain." So he's very passionate about cooking. He loves food. So he got into cooking, and that his being in the kitchen and cooking became a big family time for us.
Wow.
With both, of course, kids used to look forward to it, and I used to look forward to it. So we had to take certain decisions. We had to engage our mind towards something different because stress was creeping in. And, we were all trying to take out stress on each other initially. We didn't know what to do. So how much TV can you watch? How much TV can you watch?
Yeah.
So that's something which was there a challenge, but thankfully we figured it out at early stage that, what needs to be done. And, it has been good so far.
Right.
As I said, Juggi, she figured it out for me to say, okay, fine, you're heading to the kitchen. Right. So no, but on a serious note, it was more in terms of, I would probably say rediscovering yourself, right? There were, in our life, in terms of our busy schedule, you would never really pay attention to yourself, right? I think what it did for us was it helped us paying attention to ourselves in terms of what we are looking at your hobbies, right? As Juhee said, gardening, cooking, reading became a part of our daily curriculum. So when you would travel, right, you would spend a lot of time traveling, but now you had a lot of time in your hand where you could actually use it properly. So one of the things which definitely is going to stay over here is the discipline which we have built up around us in terms of, spending some time for a hobby, spending some time for a pastime. And we probably say it lightly right now to say that, we were practicing what our future would be in 15 to 20 years, right? But actually, it also gives you an opportunity to understand that you need to have a hobby to keep yourself busy,
Sure.
right? Work is work, which is really important. But how do you keep yourself engaged? How do you make sure that you're spending time in something which you enjoy doing, right? could we actually look at our ikigai, right? In terms of finding what exactly do you enjoy, finding a purpose, right? And is that something which you can monetize at a later date? Is that something which is keeping you occupied? Right. So I personally feel that a lot of couples, a lot of families went through this. That it was all about rediscovering themselves, right? Probably getting a purpose too.
Absolutely. So, Vishal, working from home, and Juhee, I'm going to ask a particular question, but please don't take it in a sexist way or anything. But for a lot of men, there is a big issue of working from home, and they were forced to work from home, so I know instances where the man was like, he was completely at sea, he was writhing, and I can't stay at home, I need to get back to office. And the wife was very unhappy, now you're using the space which has been my space. There was a lot of tension between a lot of couples I know because of this working at home pattern. How did it impact on both of you? Vishal, if you can go first, and then I'd like to ask Juhee about this.
I think, as Juhee probably mentioned before, it was more in terms of us realizing that this is here to stay, right? And probably being able to sort of become a bit territorial, right? So say, okay, fine, this is my space and this is where I'm going to be spending my time in terms of working. I, for one, Juggi, was never a working from home fan, right? I could never understand how people work from home, right? Okay. This has been a complete change in me because I feel you can be a lot more productive working from home, right? If you're sort of following the right discipline.
Are you happier for it, Vishal, quickly?
I'm happy. I'm probably okay with it, right? I'm fine now, but I miss meeting my colleagues. I miss being in the office because that connect is not there.
Sure.
Right. So I would not say that this is going to be the permanent feature, but probably going forward, Juggi, I would not mind working from home for 2 days in a week, right? Sure. Because that's the time when I can probably be I wouldn't say a lot more productive, but that's your thinking time, being able to do things. So I wouldn't mind. Probably it's going to be a mix of working from home and outside. I'm working from home and being in the office. But I miss office, right? But I've sort of got used to working from home also.
Okay. And Juhee, did you feel this invasion of privacy at that time?
Absolutely. And, he's a people person and he should accept that and he should start going to work whenever it opens. So that's something which should happen soon. But yes, because, you are used to doing your stuff at your time. Okay, I don't want to have lunch at 1 o'clock. I'll have it 3 o'clock. But of course, you have a call, so we should finish lunch. So those sort of restriction was somehow seen. Yeah. And, that's where I would say that, I would be very candid. You feel a little uneasy because you're not used to. Right. So that a little bit of freedom of doing your way, everything. And it's not only spouse, even with kids. Right. So, because they're schooling from home. So homeschooling is something, it's not easy. So even for them, it was just coming in, talking anytime, not respecting someone else's privacy or time. It's something which was not there before. No one experienced this before. So it was tough. But as Vishal said, we managed somehow to figure it out. And so that we have nice, easy and happy.
So both of you wouldn't mind a hybrid model in the future.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's.
And it would work better, right? Because then, you have the limit. This was forced on you, Jackie.
Forced on you, yeah.
Right? It was the fact that you didn't have anything else to do, right? Okay. I started cooking because there was no other option, to probably have some good food, right? Probably start cooking. And then Juhee started cooking for a month. I lost probably 10 kilos.
You learned something new, Vishal. And absolutely. You can proudly say the next time you have a drink with your friends, guys, I'm a wonderful chef. Try my dishes.
And I do a great meal though. Yeah, so I do. And the kids love it.
And I love it too. So I love this.
And when are you inviting us, Vishal? We have to taste it.
Anytime, open invitation.
Okay. Okay. Guys, let me ask you this another interesting question. What has also happened during this entire period is that a lot of people are, they become very skeptical of the entire political infighting. Because the health infrastructure cracked. And as a result of that, I know at least some of my friends, they are seriously thinking that, listen, I want to exit this country. I want to go migrate and settle abroad. Did these kind of thoughts ever cross your mind when all this was going on?
Juggi, we have been out for close to 20 years, right? We moved
Okay.
back to India 7 years ago. And yes, we can sit back and blame the infrastructure, blame the way it has been managed.
Yeah.
Yes, there are some areas which does need improvement, and that they need to be focused on. But if you look at the magnitude of the problem which we had, right, the number of cases which were rising, I think for any country it would have been equally difficult to manage that, right? Now, it's if you look at the sheer volume, right? Yes, it frustrates you to think about the fact that when you are not well, right, to find a hospital bed, to find oxygen, people dying without oxygen, right? It is a nightmare, right? It was very scary. That 1 month or 15 to 20 days was scary in terms of looking at it. But if you actually look at the volume, right, and the magnitude, probably any country's infrastructure would have crumbled, right, from a health point of view.
Absolutely.
So that is something which we need to be mindful of. Yes, but that does not give us the bits in terms of saying everything went off absolutely well. I think there is a lot more focus which needs to be done onto the bits in terms of the health infrastructure as to if the third wave comes in, right? Sure. What are we going to do about it?
Yeah, but you're still hopeful. Overall, you're still hopeful that life not only will get back to normal, but at the end of the day, it's not like curtains in this country. We all have a future. We will go ahead.
Absolutely. I would definitely say that there is still a future. Things would come back to normal.
Sure.
And being an optimist, right?
Okay.
It has to come back to normal. There's no other way. We get used to it, right? It is. These things happen. These things go.
Happen. Yeah.
Once in a lifetime, or probably once in a million years, it happens, and we sort of come out stronger.
Great. So, last couple of questions, guys. This, as I said, that every crisis also has a certain opportunity that comes along with it. There is a silver lining with every cloud. Let me ask you this: during this entire period, what did something new which you discovered? Did you discover some spiritual side to you? Did you discover, as Vishal said, he learned to cook? He now prepares some great stuff. Did you started enjoying Netflix more? What was that new thing which happened to both of you, which was really a wonderful kind of a thing which happened in the midst of all this negativity?
So I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I would say something new that we really got to explore our other interest. So that is something which we always complain, oh, we don't have time. So, getting onto the second act was something which made it easier in this time. So we all got into something or the other which we always wanted to do, and we could do it. Again, from work perspective, virtual was something which I always wanted to do it, but this whole situation pushed me, and which I'm thankful to. So that's something there. And third thing, which I would say that, as Vishal mentioned, spending time with my son or our son, which like he's just going to go. We would have never done it if things were normal. So the quality time which we spend with him, which we are going to cherish our whole life. So we'll with this our whole life. This 2 years.
Absolutely. Vishal, quickly, what is something new for you completely?
For me, probably one of the things which was, getting into cooking or getting into gardening was something which was there from a point of view. But from a bit of a philosophical point of view, it was all about doing with less, right? You suddenly realize that the wardrobe which are full of clothes and things which you have doesn't really matter so much.
Yeah,
right? And so, I have throughout my life, Juggi, I've been an impulsive buyer, right? The last 18 months, there has been no urge to buy anything.
No urge to buy anything.
Right? You look at, why would I need to buy something? So I think that has come out that, you don't need so many things, right? You can do with very few things, and you can be very, very content with it.
Absolutely. Great. Lovely, guys. So before we completely wind up, I'm going to, in the best traditions, I'm going to ask you a rapid fire round.
Oh, bloody hell.
Rapid fire round for both of you.
This is
These are interesting questions. Whatever comes to your mind, just say, and we leave it to our viewers to judge how you obeyed well. I know both of you are going to do extremely well, but just a rapid fire round. So I'm going to read these questions, and anyone can take that particular question first. Juhee can take it, or Vishal can take it, but answer something. So first question coming your way, guys. You choose between hope and fear.
Hope.
Hope? Juhee?
so we said it together. So yes.
You choose hope. Wonderful. Next question. When the travel ban is lifted, you will head to London or Beijing?
London.
London.
Right, said Vishal. Okay. After the pandemic is over, will you shop online?
No.
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 Okay. Okay, you're sick of it.
We're looking for retail therapy. We need to be out.
What about ordering food online? No. Or yes?
Ordering food online, yes. Yes. Ordering food online, yes. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Wonderful. Are the future of marriages headed the Amir Khan Kiran Rao way?
Well, we have crossed that stage. We have been married for 22 years now.
14
But
years.
as a general perspective, Juhee, what's your take?
We've crossed the 14 years.
Yes, we've crossed the 14 years. We've got to know that, okay, we can be together when we grow old.
Okay. Earlier it used to be the 7-year thing. Now it's the 15-year thing. You know?
Yes,
Okay, if you cross the 15 years, you're safe.
absolutely.
Wonderful. So you, both of you guys, do you relax with a Netflix series or a Saas Bahu serial?
Netflix.
Sasbahu.
Netflix.
Saas Bahu.
Netflix.
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 Okay, that's a new one, Vishal. Great. Okay. Name one personality you wish would shut his or her mouth.
Wow. A
Huh?
lot.
So if
Give me
Pranav,
one name.
no, Pranav Rao, what is his name? He's no more there.
I don't know. You know what? One thing which we did, Juggi, was that we pretty much shut off the television for a while. Netflix was there, the OTTs, but who would be the one? I now don't even know the name of the guys who are there in some of the TV channels in terms of what they
That's
say.
right.
But
Okay.
I would probably say all of them.
All of them. Okay, all of them.
Shut up, all of them, right? Be a bit more objective in terms of what news do you go with.
Great. Juhee, don't be diplomatic. Give me a name.
I wish Arnav
Goswami.
Okay.
So
Okay. So he's the favorite music boy for a lot of people, so I'll take that. Okay. Guys, what was your worst nightmare recollection of this period? What was the worst memory which you have of this period?
I think for me, it was when Juhee was down with COVID and the complications which came along with that. That was work. But looking at that, and as I said, it was also at a time when it was not that bad. It was in the first wave, but
Okay.
yeah, that was bad. And I think the worst thing, Juggi, was the fact that you did see a lot of people whom you knew very well, whom you lost to COVID. So I think that was the worst bit in terms of actually. In wave one, it was all statistics, right? In wave two was all about people whom you knew extremely well, and you lost some people, so that was bad. And I think that was probably the worst phase.
So for me, like when I had COVID, when I had to lock myself in the room for 14 days or 25 days with my complication. So that was the time when, I felt that you go through more of a mental trauma than physical trauma when you have this. And just peeping out and seeing everyone, and you wanted to hug your family, you wanted to hug everyone, and you are not able to do it. And then you realize that you take your life for granted. Like, you just, when you could hug, you're like, okay, just leave me alone, just go do your stuff, right? And right now, I just wanted to hug them, and I would just see them, and I could do it. That was the most.
You treasure the things which we always take for granted. Correct.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. No, I completely understand that. When I also had COVID during that time, and so for me, the most funny thing was actually, I've never done this in my life, but washing my own dishes, cleaning my own room. I said, yeah, this is the best way to learn it. So yeah.
Forced to learn.
First learning, absolutely. So last question, guys, and then we can wind this up. Your favorite special moment of this entire period?
All four of us sitting together, talking or playing games or having, watching some movies together, which we would never do it before
Sure.
at home. That was something which just created a lot of memories.
This was something you really treasure, Vishal.
7 courses of dessert in the night with the kids, right? That is something which you really treasure.
Vishal, it doesn't look that those desserts have done anything to you. You're looking pretty fit and trim.
I have camouflaged it well, Juggi, that's all I can say.
Okay, yeah. That's the advantage of online.
Absolutely.
There was this joke, that some of us, if you are anchoring a show or whatever, so you can see up till it's called a mid shot, But nobody is checking out that are we wearing nice trousers and shoes and everything. You could be wearing pajamas for all you know. So yeah, something good comes out of all this.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So guys, it's been absolutely wonderful talking to you. I think we had a lot of fun. That was the idea, the objective of this entire, chat, te as they say. And so I hope this is pandemic ends soon, then we can all physically meet with each other. I mean, that's the hope.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it, Juggi. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and pleasure having both of you here.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Tal.